How is everything affecting the resistance in Gaza? Of course, the population are the people who are suffering the most at the end of the day, because they are the ones being targeted. But despite all of the Israeli actions inside of the Gaza Strip, all of the genocide and destruction, the Palestinian resistance is still continuing. We've had this campaign that Israel called Gideon's chariots, or Netanyahu's wheelchair, supposedly to eliminate everyone in Gaza, eliminate all of the resistance, and then that's it, control Gaza, seize territory, and that's it, game over. But that isn't really happening. The armed wing of the PIJ today, they revealed an operation where they took down a whole building with IDF terrorists inside it. A continuation of the attacks from the previous weeks, the ambushes of Al-Qassam brigades, who had very large ambushes in the south and central parts of the Gaza Strip, apart from the initial ones in North Gaza, just after Israel broke the ceasefire and continued the genocide again, with dozens of Israeli casualties. And Israel is confirming that it's losing some of its IDF forces inside of the Gaza Strip. That was one of them. And then there was another ambush being carried out by the Palestinian resistance in North Gaza, a complex ambush that was reported as well against an Israeli tank. Tank commander was injured, and Israel also confirmed that it had casualties too. So they're not stopping them, despite all of the reports that are coming from Israel, and despite Benjamin Netanyahu selling this as if it's, the campaign that will end everything. All a lie, all a show, only for him to continue in his position. As a matter of fact, Israel is suffering heavily in Gaza now, and Benjamin Netanyahu isn't able to bring enough soldiers to carry out all of these objectives that he's been telling us that he wants to achieve ever since the beginning of the genocide. And he's constantly facing an escalation coming from Ansarullah in Yemen, who now targeted the Israeli Ben Gurion airport and vital targets in occupied Jaffa and Haifa with ballistic missiles and 2 drones. They are escalating. 37 ballistic missiles landed in the heart of the genocide state since March. 37 ballistic missiles. Many of them are hypersonic missiles from Ansarullah. Israel says that it intercepted this missile that Ansarullah landed, but they are launching missiles at around dawn time, and they're causing all of this stress inside of Israel, putting millions in bunkers, putting so much strain on the Israeli economy, forcing airplanes to go back and not land, forcing Ben Gurion Airport to shut down at least for an hour or 2 in many cases. When the missile landed several days back, they had to conduct repairs over there. All of that is serious. And one thing that is very important is the fact that Israel is alone against Yemen now. The United States is out of the picture. There is no pressure on Ansarullah, and Israel constantly conducts the same attacks in Yemen. They'll attack the Hudaydah port, and then they will attack the airport, and then, whereas Ansarullah have such a large, diversified attack against Israel, so many targets, whether it's through the Red Sea, the south is completely shut, multiple airports, bases, the Ben Gurion airport, and other locations too. Now, how's everything going with Iran? We've had all of these talks between the United States and Iran, and after multiple delays, there was a confirmation that talks are going to begin again on Friday. Some reports saying that, but Iran is feeling that Israel might take some action against it. And there were 2 interesting statements from senior figures of the IRGC in Iran. One of them was actually in the Iranian army, the Iranian armed forces, the chief of staff, and the other one was a senior figure from the IRGC. The first one was the chief of staff of the Iranian armed forces, Major General Muhammad Hussein Baqiri. He spoke about the preparation coming from Iran, that Iran is preparing for any act of idiocy, potentially from Israel against Iran. And he also said that Iran is now developing a broad range of micro aerial vehicles. Iran's first attack on Israel since the genocide in Gaza began, True Promise 1, included many drones and UAVs. And there are reports that Iran has millions of them. They will supply countries with them. Micro aerial vehicles. And he's saying that this is a direct warning to the enemies that any act of aggression will be responded at the proportionate level. They're constantly progressing and they are constantly preparing. Now, another statement came, and this time from the IRGC, the spokesperson for the Islamic Revolution Guard School, cautioned the Zionist regime that any act of aggression will draw Iran's devastating response. He said that Israel will receive a decisive and devastating response in the small and vulnerable geographical area it has occupied. Highlighting Iran's growing strength and impressive military advances, the spokesperson said that the Zionist regime in its entirety is within sight and being monitored by the Islamic Republic's combatants. This is very clear because Iran is constantly operating more and more people inside of Israel, with week after week Israel declaring that it's revealing new networks of Israeli Jews operating for Iran knowingly and deliberately from all walks of life, different ages, different backgrounds. So inside and outside, preparing. And the most interesting statement was the final statement. You may note that the Israeli regime has relied upon the US and the weakening Western governments, adding that stability won't be restored in the region and the world as long as Israel is not eliminated. So we're talking about culture and a belief here in Iran and in the IRGC, aiming to eliminate them at one point. So, I mean, talks, no talks, preparation, no preparation, war, not interested in war. Iran is constantly repeating that, and that they're looking to eliminate them. When, how are they going to do something if Israel doesn't attack? That's a separate story. But what's for sure is that they're preparing. Now, the reason that Iran is making these statements, by the way, is the fact that Israel has escalated the tone against Iran, and there were more leaks that Israel was about to attack Iran as a measure coming from Benjamin Netanyahu, could be one of his desperate measures to deviate the attention. He's under too much pressure now. People globally, millions, are calling for military action to be taken against Israel in Western nations, millions of people, social media campaigns. Internally, he's facing a lot of problems, and he is making Israel more and more secluded, and he's doing all of that for his own sake. And he would, if he wants to, go and attack Iran to protect himself.